Welcome and Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Pay Talks Ask Us Anything. My name is Alex. I'm a senior content strategist here at Amazon Pay. We've got a really interesting episode ahead to start off the new year. My friend Brandon Morris from the sales team has joined us to discuss all that we've learned about uncertainty, if anything, and how to plan for it, as our life seems to be nothing but uncertain these days. Brandon, thanks for being here, and we're glad to have your sage advice for today's episode.
Oh, thanks, Alex. I appreciate that. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you work very frequently with our merchants, and I know you have an interesting backstory too. You and I both started as musicians before we became marketers or salespersons. And what was your inspiration to transition from music to sales?
I went to school, went to college for music. I have a degree in music performance. While I was working through my degree, I worked at a hotel and in sales, and did really well, and found that was something I had a knack for, and ultimately decided to pursue that as a more stable means of income.
Yes.
And so through that, I've found myself here at Amazon for 5 years now, and I absolutely love it.
So Brandon, let's get started with today's discussion. So it's obviously been a crazy couple of years out there.
Mm-hmm.
E-commerce businesses have had to deal with a lot of uncertainty and disruption. I think some people felt that 2021 would be more of a resolution year with more answers, more ability to plan and sort of figure out, okay, now we dealt with that, now we can move on and sort of reset. But it really turned out to be another year of more disruption. And given that sentiment of uncertainty, I thought it'd be right to chat about how businesses, and particularly small and medium-sized businesses, can prepare for volatility and uncertainty in the marketplace, if at all. Can you talk about some of the observations you've seen working with merchants and what you see happening in e-commerce industry at large over the next year or so?
As the pandemic really picked up, e-commerce exploded. The phrase I heard from so many merchants at that time was, we've seen 4 years of growth in 4 months. And in 2021, generally either sustained what they had, or sales and revenue fell slightly year over year. That's, I think, some of the key things we'll continue to see now that human beings are maybe tired of dealing with the pandemic in some cases, and want to return to more normal life, back to normal in-person brick and mortar shopping. It's an interesting trend, and how merchants respond to this is going to kind of define their future as e-commerce businesses, primarily who we engage with at Amazon Pay.
Right. Yeah. No, the future is being defined as we speak, for sure, by these many merchants out there. Let's start with a tangible one. I think all of us have felt the effects of supply chain disruption and logistics disruption over the last couple of years. And I know that no one has felt this more than small businesses. So how do you see small businesses responding to these supply chain and logistics disruptions?
I mean, just to speak to a personal example, I ordered a new range for my kitchen back in May, and I still haven't received it. We're hearing this a lot, merchants concerned with overpromising delivery dates and impacts that has on things like chargeback rates. Merchants don't want to be overpromising and then not have control of how and when a customer receives a product based on something, to do with the shipping or the carrier. So in this case, some of the things that we've seen some merchants do, and that you as a merchant you can explore, one, sourcing new manufacturers that might be domestic. You can work to find out who your competitors are using and potentially leverage them as well, because there's a good chance that they also are dealing with the same issues you are.
Right.
You can also diversify your product offerings, create a more interesting product mix, find a way to create a subscription model built around your product, to create an additional revenue stream. Basically, the last two things could be stopgap measures to help with revenue in times when you might not be seeing what you expect. But ultimately, if you do these things and then things start to return back to normal from a supply chain perspective, you've actually bolstered your business. You've found additional ways to serve your customers, which can only help you in the long run.
Let's talk about how that supply chain has impacted the consumers who shop at these businesses. Obviously,
Yeah.
the trust that starts to erode when businesses can't meet their promises
Hmm.
and how they're used to operating sort of falls short for the consumer. Those
Yeah.
expectations could not be higher, of course, in the digital commerce age. And unfortunately, we've all had purchase experiences impacted by these recent events that have been frustrating. But I try to have, a lot of empathy for the suppliers and the businesses who are dealing with it on the other side.
Hmm.
But some don't share those sentiments, and their frustration is very palpable. So how can these businesses keep trust and loyalty, which is so crucial to their business,
Hmm.
alive in this time of disruption? Is it possible?
I think it's possible. I mean, I would say the main thing a merchant should seek to do is put the customer first. I think, regardless of the challenges you might be facing, in that sense, if you always seek to deliver an outstanding customer experience, even when things don't go perfectly, I think that word of mouth that comes along with that will long term deliver a lot more impact to your business.
Mm,
So,
mhm,
I can't speak to specific examples, but I think it's really crucial to make sure that the customer experience, whether it comes to how they buy, how
mm.
your product is packaged,
Yeah,
how, if you're working with the right carriers to have it delivered,
yeah,
whatever it takes, and then your response to issues post delivery, how you handle all these things is going to have a long-term downstream impact on how customers view you and your brand. So that's
yeah.
what I would focus on
Can we chat about
overly.
the idea of going viral in 2021? I mean, we know what that's been
Yeah.
about in general, but what about going viral as a business? I mean, what are some examples, and what can we take away from the idea of going viral as a business?
Yeah, I mean, some of the strategies we see merchants employ revolve around leveraging influencers, and the challenge there is finding influencers that can your product aligns very closely with the brand they've built for themselves, so that their followers believe the endorsement is authentic.
Yeah.
So you don't. The last thing you want to do is just kind of take a shotgun approach to how you market your business and just go to every available influencer and say, "Hey, we send you a product and you talk about it and we
Yeah.
have a deal." You want to really be qualify your influencers and try and find the
Mm,
people that you think will resonate with your mutual audiences the best.
mm,
And there are some brands I think about that have done this extremely well. Um, that they just happen to find the right people and they have a great product fit, and it's great to see those businesses really thrive with that type of offering.
So we saw lots yeah.
Yeah.
of curbside pickup in store. Will those trends continue post-pandemic? Will they be as strong? Will they be a part of every retailer's strategy, or do you think that they will fade away with time?
Yeah, no, I think precedent has been set for what's possible, right, and what customers and consumers expect to see from the retailers and from the brands that they transact with. I definitely would expect to see more curbside pickup options. I see that as a business model in of itself for those retailers that don't have the infrastructure to build out their own curbside pickup. Someone could go ahead and build that out for you and make that a service offering
Mm,
to your business. I think that's absolutely going to happen.
yeah.
And think about other, frictionless ways to buy. Even Amazon One, for example, paying with your palm. I
Mm,
see that. Just walk out technology. I think that's going to continue to expand,
yeah.
giving customers really, really simple and trusted, easy, and frankly cool ways to
Mhm.
buy. Right? Don't have to engage with a person. You don't have to touch anything. You just walk in, get what you want, and you can be done. So I think those are some of the ways. The other
Yeah.
the other way I think about it is voice commerce. I think uh, over time that's going to become more and more relevant as that technology with all the home assistants out there
Yeah.
tend
Yeah.
to improve. And merchants and other brands want to have a way to get consumers to buy from the comfort of their home.
Yeah.
without having to engage with advice. I think there's going to be a lot of potential there as well.
How about another trend I saw emerge, which was buy now, pay later. I mean, this is not pandemic related per se. It's been around for a while, but
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on the utility and the ethics of BNPL? And is this innovation in checkout technology, or is it just another way to sort of, make money disguising one thing as something else, just to make it sort of, more accessible for consumers who don't want to pay all the money up front? What is it all about?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all of the above, and yes and no to everything you said. I think you hit on a lot of the reasons why and why not customers and merchants would offer buy now, pay later options.
Yeah.
I think from the consumer's point of view, it lowers the payment that's needed up front. They something that would previously be unobtainable becomes obtainable in the moment, as long as they can commit to themselves that they're willing to make those payments. I think that the challenge, generally speaking, comes to education and helping and being more financially literate. I think I wish that was something that was taught in high schools,
no kidding.
frankly, because I think when people make those buying decisions, they need to know if this is a $1,000 product that I'm going to buy over the next 6 months, can I afford this payment in combination with everything else I'm buying?
Right.
Being able to make that educated decision is hard for some people, and so that's the thing I think about. And I think, like you said, it's a business model. It's a viable business model, which is why we've seen so many BNPL companies come out of the woodwork over the past few years, because it's a viable way to make a ton of money as a business.
Yeah.
And so I think, like anything else, consumers should be savvy in how they buy, and merchants should focus on making it as easy as possible for consumers to buy, giving them a wide range of options that suit their needs.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, no, great answer. And just to close things out in this part of our conversation, let's talk a little bit more about the checkout experience, because that's what we specialize in here at Amazon Pay. So when we reach the checkout as an online shopper, we want speed, we want ease of use, we want familiarity, and we want to trust that we're entering our information securely. Many solutions provide that these days. But what can you say to the businesses that are still out there and hesitant to use an express checkout option or a payment solution provider to up-level their checkout experience?
Yeah, I mean, for the bulk of merchants that we engage with, some of the key business drivers that they have are increasing conversion, increasing average order values, and providing a world-class and globally trusted checkout experience. By creating friction at the cart page and at the top of the checkout page, or requiring fields be filled, like creating an account or entering an address, an email address, creating a password even for your website, really consider the impact to conversion that has. Like, if you have tools in place to measure drop off page by page, understand that and really dive into that data to understand what the negative impact is, and try and disseminate from that what would be the positive impact of offering payment methods at the cart page that are globally trusted, that customers are familiar with, that will allow them to accelerate through checkout without either needing to enter any information or entering minimal information required for your business. For example, if you're B2B and you require certain information that those other payment methods don't natively provide, you can really have a significant impact to the revenue your business generates through the direct-to-consumer channel. So I think there's significant impact to be had.
All right, so without further ado, we're going to turn things over to the question and answer section. And before we take the merchant questions for this month, I just wanted to point out that we received a lot of submissions regarding technical inquiries about your accounts, when you're getting paid, how to get paid via Amazon Pay. And for these types of technical questions or questions about integration or signing up for Amazon Pay, we suggest that you visit pay.amazon.com/help and select Contact Us. And one of our support team will be in touch with you as soon as they can to help resolve any issues you're having with Amazon Pay. So let's move on to some of these great questions you've submitted today. The first question is, with the immense impact of inflation and increased competition on the Amazon storefront, the byproduct is extremely low margins, a 2-day delivery expectation with fees eating away at those lowered margins. Now, this is one merchant's perspective, but we're really glad you shared this. They ask, do you see any workarounds or ways to improve this to help especially small businesses trying to stay afloat amidst such competition? Great question. Thank you for asking. Brandon, what do you have to say to this one?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think customers' expectations have continued to increase as technology improves and as businesses have increased their standards of shipping times that you spoke to.
Right.
I will say that, over COVID, especially during the height of buyer behavior really shifting to online, that was really from March to June 2020, those 4 months. Merchants saw just an absolutely exponential rate of growth. And following that, merchants were really trying to maintain that rate of growth in 2021. Much to their disappointment, a lot of them weren't able to do that, simply because buyer behavior started shifting away from e-commerce back towards more brick and mortar. With that said, there are still merchants today that are continuing to see that same rate of growth. Typically, the leaders in the space are doing that. And they're doing that in success, having that same rate of success in spite of, or sometimes because of the conditions that we're working within. So while they are challenging questions to answer, like anything else in life, I would say control what you can control and focus on how you can operate within these parameters and find ways to see growth. So that might mean observing what your competitors are doing, or what the major players in the space or other merchants or businesses that you respect, and find ways to do what they're doing, but faster or better or cheaper or smarter.
Right. Well said. Another question we got was, how do we best prepare our merchandise, deals, and strategies for selling on Amazon and our own website simultaneously in the holiday season? Any new customer purchase behavior that you've noticed in 2021? That's a great question. Thank you for asking. I would love to point you to our very first episode of Pay Talks. I'll share the link below this video in the description, where we go over holiday selling strategies for merchants to help ramp up for the increase in customer traffic that comes during those times and help you get in front of more eyes and more shoppers. So please do check out our first episode of Pay Talks around holiday strategies for that one. Next is, I would love to see an overview of the fraud prevention and security policies offered by Amazon Pay, or features and technology offered by Amazon Pay. We saw several questions about our fraud prevention and security. And before Brandon can go into this a little bit deeper, I'll say that our last episode of Pay Talks, which I'll include the link to below, was around this very topic. But Brandon, please give your own spin on this and educate them on what they can expect.
Well, I would say that regardless of whichever payment methods you opt to accept, it's crucial to have measures in place to help mitigate fraud, especially merchants that operate in high-risk categories. They will often opt to have additional fraud layers in place to add additional safeguards in addition to those provided by payment methods. What I would say is Amazon Pay is leveraging the same kind of world-class fraud prevention technologies that we have in place for merchants that sell on Amazon. We do have a payment protection policy and A to Z guarantees in place for both customers and buyers. They do differ slightly from those from merchants that sell on Amazon.com, and would be, I guess, considered more closely aligned with that of a payments business. So yeah, that's my answer over there.
Well, again, thank you all for joining us for this episode, and we'll see you next time for next month's Pay Talks Ask Us Anything. Thanks again.